Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. A little louder, please. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Absolute pleasure to be here. But I'll tell you what I do not like is the fact that you've sandwiched me between some rock star speakers in the morning and lunchtime. Right? So that's a lot of extra pressure. But I think what makes the pressure a little bearable is that I get to talk about something which is very, very close to my heart. And I dare say, a shining star in the somewhat turbulent, volatile world that we live in, which is our amazing, beautiful, super awesome country, India. Right? And because I only have 18 minutes to speak and I'm already almost at the start of it, I'll talk about the Indian economy and Indian consumers and some macro trends that we see in this market. Right? Because the really good thing is that our growth story is intact. Right? And the growth story is no longer about just software exports like it used to be for the longest time. Our manufacturing is now coming of age thanks to logistics getting better, supply chains getting formalized, thanks to localization, and today we manufacture everything, starting from mobile phones, to EV components, to pharma, to all kinds of things. GCCs have turned many of our cities outside of the metros into hubs for startups to build technology, build AI, build data. These are actually seeding a lot of talent into startups, which brings me to something that we are very passionate about, which is the startup ecosystem, which is thriving and buzzing. There are new businesses being built out of India. Today we can get deliveries for almost everything in 10 minutes. There are consumers who are enjoying the benefits of high quality founders, building high quality consumer brands for them, and so many, many, many things. Can we put the next slide, please? Can you give me a ticker? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, which is something that I say with a lot of pride and a lot of belief, which is that there is, in my belief, no better place to be in the world than India. And there is no better time to be here than now. And why do I say that? I say that because the facts actually say so. Point this. Right. Yeah. I say that because the data says so and facts don't lie. So India is already the fourth largest GDP in the world, just after US, after China, after Germany, there is India. And our growth rates today will take us to be the third largest GDP in the world very quickly. We are projected to become a $6.5 trillion GDP by 2030, the third largest GDP, and by far the largest, fastest growing economy in the world, with our growth rates projected to be 2.4x that of US, 1.8x that of China, and about 2x that of the globe, right? The rest of the globe. Within this, consumption or private consumption, which is an area of interest for us specifically, is likely to go up to $4 trillion, which means every year from now on till 2030, we are likely to add close to $300 billion of private consumption, right? That itself is staggering numbers, and that is itself something that should give us a lot of pride. However, what is even more exciting in all of this is some of the core underlying factors why we will see this growth. The first factor is that India will get richer, thanks to some of the things that I spoke about earlier, and of late contributed by a lot of government reforms towards tax cuts, GST slabs getting reduced, which ultimately put more money in the hands of consumers. Number two, India is a young, upwardly mobile country. The average median age in India is 29 years of age. More than half our country is actually younger than this 29. And the third thing is that India is getting increasingly more digitally savvy, thanks to smartphones, thanks to cheap data, thanks to enablers like e-commerce, quick commerce, UPI, social media platforms, all of that. But what is really exciting about the shape of this $4 trillion consumption market is that this growth is not going to be linear, and the shape of this 4 trillion will look very different from what it is today. And that's what makes us exciting. Because when we say India, while India is a country, while India is our country, India is actually a heterogeneous aggregation of many smaller, homogeneous mini-Indias. And I say smaller, not small, because each of these mini-Indias by themselves actually are large enough to be big countries on their own. So there are many ways one can segment a market, right? There is habits, there is aspirations, there is desires. I actually took a little bit of a shortcut, took an easy way out, and used something which is fairly simple to segment, which is income, right? So if I segment India into 3 income clusters, there is India 1, which is affluent and elite India. That's somebody who earns anywhere in the range upwards of 10 lakhs rupees per annum. There's India 2, which is middle class India, or Bharat as we call it, which are households that earn between 5 to 10 lakh rupees per annum. And there is India 3, which earns less than 5 lakh rupees per annum. So geography buffs in the house, raise your hands. Okay, quick question. What are the top 5 most populated countries in the world? Quickly. India, China, USA, Indonesia, Pakistan, right? Absolutely. Now just hold this thought. Given how the shape of this market will look in 2030, India 1, which is likely to have close to 80 million households or 300 million people, will in itself qualify to be the 4th most populated country in the world. Just in itself, this is India 1 within India. By World Bank standards, this cluster will earn more than 15 lakh rupees per annum and hence qualify to be called a rich country. Just think of that. Within India, you have an India 1, which by global standards is a rich country and the 4th most populated country in the world. Now, what does this 300 million population hold? Right? These are people who are rapidly willing to premiumize, willing to pay more money, have traveled globally, want access to world-class goods and services, are conscious about what they consume, want read back of pack, care about sustainability, and that is such a massive consumption opportunity, and consumers who will shape this opportunity are all sitting right here. India 2, which is Bharat or middle class India, projected to be close to 150 million households, close to 600 million consumers, comfortably the 3rd largest country in the world. And if many things actually typify India 2, but there is one thing that stands out, is that their aspiration is equal to that of India 1, but their access is not. Think about it. A 16-year-old in Bareilly and a 16-year-old in Bandra actually watches the same content on their phones. A 25-year-old in Koramangala or a 25-year-old in Kanpur follows the same influencers. Their dreams are the same, their aspirations are the same. However, there is still today a very big difference in the access that the two sets of consumers have, right? India has close to 19,000 pin codes. Yet, only 1 in 10 Indians lives in a pin code that has 5 or more organized retail stores. Now just think about this. All of these people, hundreds of millions of people, want access to the same products and services that their counterparts in the bigger cities have, yet they don't have access to it. They are starved of that access and they hence have to compromise against their wishes. And hence you have all these people who are willing, who are able, who are wanting, but yet not able to access high quality fashion goods. They compromise and use unbranded fashion, unbranded footwear. They're forced to use unpackaged staples where they want to use branded staples. They use local cosmetics, but they want to use branded cosmetics. And hence, look at that opportunity that is there and look at how quickly all these people will be willing to upgrade. The other trend that we see, and this is a beautiful trend, and I'm sure all of us sort of resonate with this, is that the woman is now the market. And this actually is fueled by a beautiful trend, which is that the increase in female labor force participation will go from 36% to 50%. Now there's a lot of good stuff that happens when this happens, because as more women start working, there are several macroeconomic developments that happen. Dual incomes rise, household incomes rise, household savings rise, the tax base increases, women start playing a more active role in household decisions on what they should buy, what they should consume. There is a marked improvement in investments towards children's health and children's education. There is greater demand for financial services like banking, insurance, digital services. The woman starts investing behind herself. It could be for stuff that she needs to wear when she goes out to work. It could be for beauty services. It could be for her own mental wellness. And they start doing things that are right for themselves, which could mean taking care of their hormonal health, outsourcing things that they don't want to do at home to other urban services, including even delivering or delaying pregnancy and delaying motherhood. Basically, there's a lot more autonomy, a lot more resilience, and a lot more confidence that comes in, and that is good for the economy in general. We actually see this even in Bharat, where the percentage of working women will go up from 36% to now close to 47, 48%. And it's no surprise that in a Bharat household, as women start working, there is more categories that start getting consumed inside the house, and more new age brands start entering some of those categories. And this trend has actually given birth to another trend, and that is the birth of what we lovingly call the digital daughter. That the digital daughter is a person in the household who, thanks to her own digital savviness, thanks to her levels of confidence in education, and thanks to the household giving her a platform, has now become a fairly powerful voice in what the household buys, what the household consumes, how people dress up, and also how people take care of their health. And we've seen that this digital daughter is not just somebody who's an active participant in shopping decisions, she also is involved in setting up auto pays on UPI for paying rent, for paying electricity, for paying water bills in the house. She actually sets up digilockers for the rest of the household to start putting their PAN and Aadhaar card in, right? She is a very good, strong person to get elders in the family to become more digital savvy. They teach them how to do video calls, they teach them how to do WhatsApp and surf on social media. She's of course a very active shopper because she's able to do price comparison and she tells the family what to buy. She also does stuff like runs the entire repair and maintenance and warranty process for electronics in the house. She is like the travel and tour operator in the house. She will do flight booking, train booking, she'll check on what the flight status is, check on PNRs, etc. So this digital daughter is becoming far more active in how households consume, how households think, and then that sets her up to become a very active member of the consumption sort of cohort in the years to come. Now I spoke about how we can segment the market using income. This is the other way we can segment the market, which is using age. Now India has all of these age cohorts, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, Seniors. We also now have Gen Beta. Now these are very distinct micro cohorts. Each of them behaves very differently from the other, right? So while a millennial will want to premiumize, a Gen X will actually want to stay loyal to their brands, whereas a Gen Alpha wants to be completely hyper individualistic and more personalized because they are digitally native. And while these are actually distinct micro cohorts, they're also very large micro cohorts. So let this sink in. In 2030, India will have 700 million Gen Z plus millennials. That's 2x the size of the US population, right? So if the last decade in consumption was all about millennials becoming a dominant force, we think the next 5 to 10 years will be where Gen Z becomes a very potent force, and along with Gen Z, even Gen Alpha will start becoming very dominant in the way households purchase. And there's one thing that Gen Z and Gen Alpha do not like to do, it is they don't like to consume brands that their parents or their senior generation is using, right? So that trend is something which we think will play out in a very big way in the coming years. And that is actually flowing to this next insight that we have, which is Gen Alpha and Gen Z are actually driving the family wallet. And we believe that the future of consumption in India will not just be about what they buy, but about how they influence the family to buy. And how they influence the family to buy through discovery, through recommendations, is actually when a brand talks to them in a manner that is authentic and through a relatable face, not just through a celebrity. So some of those things are now changing. The other thing that we see is that shopping is no longer gendered, which is while the woman is the market, when it comes to use cases like looking good, feeling good, expressing oneself, men are now equally coming to the party. So things like previously female-centric categories like serums, body lotions, etc. Men are also consuming them now. You can get, as far on an urban service or in-home grooming, just like there is waxing, pedicures and manicures, you will also have beard grooming. By the way, you will also have women buying strength equipment and protein, just like men will also buy yoga accessories, right? So some of these boundaries of men shopping, women shopping is getting blurred, and that's a beautiful thing to see. And coming to yoga accessories and strength fitness, it's a good segue to my next point, which is that health is the new status symbol. Around us, I'm sure we see all of this. Teens are training, Gen Z is lifting, millennials are biohacking, Gen X is conditioning, seniors are tracking steps on their wearables. Because India is getting more fitness conscious, right? Today, terms like biohacking and conditioning are becoming commonplace in our vocabulary. This wasn't the case 5 years back. And by the way, this is a trend that is secular across ages, genders, tiers of income, tiers of geography, and it's a status symbol, which means if I'm conscious about my health, I want to talk about it. If I'm doing a run, if I run 21 kilometers, I want to track it and I want to post it. It is a status symbol, which is very clearly spilling over also to the dining table, because as health requirements become more individual, the dining table gets more fragmented. So if the son has a protein target to meet, his diet will have more protein. If the father has actually been given a rap on the knuckles by the digital daughter, saying, you need to lose weight and shed that dad bod, he will actually be having a meal which is far more suited to that, which he wasn't doing 5 years back. So as we say, tradition is now becoming optional, but nutrition is a non-negotiable. And this trend plays out even in non-affluent households, where the earlier mandate used to be survival, it is now strength. And even in non-affluent households, mothers are now realizing that their kids need to have more protein in their diet. And while they may not be able to afford expensive protein, they're adding seeds, paneer, sprouts, etc. to daily food, right? So that their kids can have more nutrition. The other cool thing is Indians are now starting to play more sports, are starting to work out more. Kids are entering and playing sports a lot earlier. Parents are willing to spend behind it because they see that it is not just a way to keep the child fit, it is also in some way an access to a good education, could also be a good scholarship. Plenty of sports like football, cricket, paddle, even walking for seniors, running are now community social activities. In some cases, they're replacing the earlier social activities. This is a trend that is also supported a lot by the very good improvement in supply that we see all around us. Indians are traveling a lot more. We have 180 million people in India who take a flight at least once a year. There are now 155 airports in India. This enables people to travel. Indians have only 27 million Indians actually travel internationally once a year, but many Asian and APAC countries are now picking up this trend and preparing for Indians, because they see one data, which is that 130 million Indians have a passport, right? But only 27 million people have traveled internationally. So we are on the cusp of a massive explosion over here. Now, what underpins a lot of this and is actually a platform for this growth is how India clicks, right? Which is how India is getting more digital. So we have close to or over 1 billion people who access the internet, over 1 billion people who have a smartphone, close to 1 billion people who use social media, close to 500 million people who shop on e-commerce. Now, what do these things cue? These things cue that the infrastructure in India to reach 1 billion people is now in place. Going forward, this infrastructure will become better. The cost to serve will come down further. And for brands who realize this, they are actually able to make trust very programmable. Now, what does this mean? It means if a brand wants to build trust with a consumer who can never see them, all they need to do is get some social proofing done, have things like instant refunds, real-time tracking, build that trust, reduce the barriers that people have to try. Once the barriers reduce and the trial goes up, people are able to consume them more, and this leads to a beautiful flywheel where more usage leads to more data, that leads to better personalization, better satisfaction, that further flows into more usage and more data, and the flywheel keeps rolling very well. And what's helped in that certainly is with the screen shifting away from television to digital. A lot of this data, a lot of this personalization is able to kick in even further and get the flywheel moving even further. Fun fact, Bharat, which is middle class India, not affluent India, the average Bharat consumer consumes 35 to 40 GB of data a month, which is 1.3x the times that an average American, which is a rich country, consumes a month, right? So that just shows how this digital ecosystem, how these digital rails have now turned a lot of the erstwhile friction into fuel. Any of you guys who want to start up, right, for you to sit here, for you to access capital, access consumer insights, and launch and scale your brand all India is now possible. For some of you who might sit here and see that there is a boutique in Kolkata and I want to buy their product, it's so easy to now transact using that, right? So some of these digital rails have really kicked in very, very well. We are a country which is young. We are a country which is upwardly mobile. Our consumer base or our citizen base is just about entering their prime earning years, right? And we have incomes going up. So I will end by saying, I could talk a lot more, but I'll just end by saying this, that there is really no better time to be in India. and there is really no better place to be in as India. Yeah, thank you very much.